Hey guys, I'm Angela Rideau and I have a poetry podcast called Poems from My Heart. And I also have recently launched a new poetry book called Honeybee. So Honeybee's out now on ebook and paperback, which you can get on Amazon. And you will soon be able to get an audiobook for it. But today I'm joined by someone amazing, a graphic designer called Isha Joshi. And she's also a dear, dear friend. So Isha, can you introduce
Oh,
yourself and tell us a bit about you?
it made me smile so much that when you call me your friend.
You are, you're
Yeah,
my friend.
yes, I am. I'm Isha. I am a poet as well, and also a graphic designer and illustrator for longer actually than I've been a poet. I just honestly enjoy colors and words and everything, every way that we can possibly make sense of things so much. And I just think that that's what makes me like I don't know, feel like there's something to be made sense of even in this world because everything is so confusing. And I'm actually not a very articulate person, like when I'm just talking to people, but I do find myself uh, maybe addressing that through poems and through but I have to say I loved working with you so much. You've been one of my favorite clients. I talked about you to my friends the whole time we were working, and I was just like, I love working with this person so much. I didn't know that like you were Indian at first, but then when I went to your profile and saw that you were a member of the diaspora, I that was also so nice to me, nice for me to see. I went through your work and I honestly connected to it so much because you have you write about womanhood and just trauma and all of those things that I also try to navigate a lot in my poetry. And so I actually found that connection immediately, and I thought that I really feel like before like even we had like a Zoom call, I kind of felt like I can already see what I can do here, and I can already have it in my brain, and I already had the wheels turning. So that's when I spoke to you for the first time, I had so many ideas immediately, which like I was so excited about because I was like, this is such like inspiring work, honestly, to do. It doesn't feel like I'm like doing work.
Um, let's talk about the chapter titles because I gave you a brief, which was really difficult. I said, Isha, some of the illustrations are going to be on cream paper, some of them are going to be chapter headings on black paper. So we need some illustrations that are white. So you had to work with that color contrast, the white on black. So how did you go about? And this was 100% your idea. I gave you a heading and I said, it's called Navigating Heritage. And I told you briefly what it's about, and then you came up with the idea. Can you talk us a little bit about navigating heritage and how you came up with that?
When you said navigating, I think that word, like, I think to me, the word navigating immediately brings forward an image of like sorting through things and, trying to chart a way. Like, that is the image that it brings to me. And so when you said navigating and then heritage, the words together came to me like, I wanted to see someone sorting through a past or sorting through a past, but then that's a very like vague visual if you just kind of imagine someone sorting through the past. But I mean, I'm like someone who's super messy and super cluttered, but then as a contrast, I'm also someone that hates living in mess and needs to declutter and like needs to put things away. And I cannot like see things clearly unless everything is put away in its place. And that's what I kind of saw with your title, Navigating Heritage. I saw the first poem in it too, and I kind of saw how you were compartmentalizing, and there were so many different parts of your life that you wouldn't imagine would go together, but then they are together, and you can see that in you as a person. And so I wanted to take each part and kind of you know have a metaphor for that part of you. Like Jumkas for like you as an Indian woman, a candy wrapper, and like I wanted like to see all of those parts of you. You can be playful, you can be your mom, and your all of these things I wanted to show through the lens of like I've always seen my mother sorting through her purse about once a week. Like she will put everything out on the bed, and there will be so many things. There will be loose change, there will be cash, like a wallet, like so many wrappers, and like very very tiny things are just all scattered. And then she would put all the important things back in her purse, and it would always have a place for it to go to. And I that visual is so stark to me, and I always saw that as like, okay, she's going through the things that are important to her, and she's keeping
And
things that she needs.
and sifting through, basically sorting through the things in your mind that you need to filter, and keeping the part of heritage that's important and discarding the other parts, or placing them somewhere else and filing them away. That was really beautiful. You did such a great job with that, especially the jhumka. I love the jhumka and the hands as well.
The bee flying away from, the mess was like, also like, when you open a wallet and it's empty and like a butterfly flies out of it. I saw it like that. I saw, like, I could honestly, like, I knew I was drawing something static, but I could see everything move in my head.
Yes.
And that was because of your poems. Like, the poems make the, something that's 2D and like not like stationary, like your poems will make it move in someone's head. And that's what, that's why it's like, so much value can be added to a piece of, literature if like there is something visual to go along with it. So I loved doing caramel iridescence because it was the first one that I explored. Like, I didn't do what you wanted, first of all, and I so in that one I was kind of, I was nervous because it's always nerve-wracking to do something that the client doesn't want, or like not that you didn't want it, just like something different than what you did want. It's always, because it's like, then there's an extra step of like, convincing you that this, like, it's not your vision, but like it will work for you. That's always hard to do if the person you're working with is particularly difficult, but you were never difficult to work with. So that was actually that's why I felt even safe enough to do that. And so it made me really happy because I drew all of these hands, and I was thinking of women holding hands and, sisters. I drew like a child's hand, and I drew a hand that was like of a, really old person. And I wanted like, different ages and different skin tones and even different sizes to be in those hands. And I wanted them all to be overlapping so that there was, places where the color mingled. And since we didn't have color to work with, I loved I loved what we did with the shading, and I loved how even through the grayscale we can see life, I think, in the work. And I think that was my favorite piece to do because it was just so like it made so much sense to me, because at that I think at that point something clicked, where like I knew that this was something I needed to introduce in more of the pieces that we did.
Let's talk about one which was really frustrating, because I think this one was frustrating because this was one of the ones that I didn't have a clue how it should look. So I gave you like quite a detailed brief on many of them. Like I had an idea in my head, but for this poem, Scars, I had no idea. And I brought like 3 different ideas to you. And I think I just said, look, Isha, surprise me. And you went away and created a masterpiece. For the poem, Scars is about overcoming your fears and really honoring the warrior that's within you as a mother. Like if you have a C-section, or if you're breastfeeding, or if you've been through a journey, it could be emotional scars, it could be physical scars. But scars was really important, and it wasn't about taking off your armor and showing it to another person. It was about you looking in the mirror. And you took that idea and you created something so wonderful that relates to my Indian heritage and roots. Tell us a bit about Scars.
So I had seen the artwork that had Kali in the mirror. I've actually seen quite a lot of artwork with Kali in the mirror, because I think it's like a trope that a lot of artists like to do. And I think that's such a powerful idea of like for a woman to look in the mirror and see. I think Kali is an Indian goddess that I think I'm not sure what she symbolizes, because
I think she symbolizes she kills evil. So she's the form of the form of the woman that is the most violent. And I think it's fierce. I think the word fierce is really important because she can do things.
She can look scary. She can look scary. Like, she kills men, and there's she wears a necklace with skulls. And it's not, honestly, it doesn't, you wouldn't think of it as a part of Indian imagery if you didn't, like, knew a lot about India, because, in India, like a woman like that, you don't see her a lot in any media, or like, those women are not very, empowered a lot in India. It's, someone who is, mostly naked, wearing a skull, like, skull necklace and holding a man's head usually, looks very scary in the face if you see. And I think it's such a dissonance, because you do see that worshipped in a temple, but then women like that in real life, you don't see them, you're not seeing a lot of importance given to them. But I think I saw a lot of potential there. I think it was so important, especially because you mentioned scars. I've grown up with like a lot of scars on my body, and there is so much shame in like a woman not having like a perfect, like unblemished complexion entirely. It's such a weight that like, you carry for something that seems so small, but
Yeah, like on a
that's why I
guy, a
wanted it
scar is
to,
sexy, and on a woman, it's a blemish. And I think that's the
yeah,
way society makes you feel. And it actually, it's not. It defines who we are, and it makes us. Like my C-section scar is a sign that I was a mother. I was able to get pregnant, and I was able to give birth.
I think I saw a lot of that in the poem. Like it was so important to me to show that, that even though there was like not like to see in the mirror, like to see a mirror and then see just everything fierce about yourself looking back. I think that was important for me to show. It was also a very difficult poem for me to illustrate. I didn't know how I wanted to show it. I didn't know how it would kind of compose itself because I didn't want it to be. I didn't want the idea of the poem to get lost in the visual of like Kalima, who is a very huge presence. And there's, you put her in the illustration, that's going to be the only part of the illustration your eye goes to. So I didn't want that to be, I wanted her to have a scar. I wanted her to, Kalima as like as a mother who had a baby through C-section. I think that was so, I didn't think that I would be able to show that without it, being too overpowering.
You really thought so much about it. It was a complicated piece. It was one of the more detailed ones, and you really executed it beautifully. And I was so proud of you for doing that. You did such a wonderful job. Like the crown, the four arms that Galima has, and the scar. You just did so, it was just so beautiful. I loved it so much. That's why it's my favorite, because there was so much thought and detail that went behind it. And you captured the vulnerability and the strength and the whole message of empowerment. I thought that was really, really important. Shall we talk a little bit about our curly hair in lion's mane? so lion's mane, I ended up telling you some stories about me that I was quite ashamed of about when I was younger, where I would like take my hair, put it on an ironing board and iron it, because I thought that straight hair was supposed to be really beautiful, because that's kind of like Western standards. And my messy, curly Indian hair I was told that it wasn't very nice and very beautiful. It was always frizzy and messy. And so in the poem, I've tried to capture the fact that, the fact that people like a certain standard of beauty, whether it's your shade of skin, whether blemishes, whether it's your hair. And we really related to that, because like today my hair is straight, but it looks like yours. Actually, it's not green, but it does look like your hair. So when I looked at you, I was saying, oh, Isha, this is what I really want to capture, and the fact that I wanted to represent my journey. And what my daughter once actually said to me, which was, Mummy, my hair looks really messy, doesn't it? Like she was echoing my insecurities back to me, and you captured that journey. That is really my actual story in a beautiful way. Tell us a little bit about lion's mane.
I think curly hair is something that I think, especially in Indian women, like our hair texture is, there is a particular texture that we never talk about with Indians. We have huge hair, and it's thick and it has a mind of its own, and it's dark, and we don't, like, nobody ever knows what to do with it, especially in a country we should know what to do with it, but we're still suffering from the colonial hangover. I think it was such a big part of taking control for me, like when I tried to bring my curls back, because I had lost them through many years of straightening and many years of even coloring my hair. Yeah, like they don't come back immediately, and like you actually have to put so much effort into bringing a curl pattern back.
I know.
When I started to do that,
Japanese Yuko hair straightening. So I went to a salon, and I really regret it now, because I was so fed up of how long it was taking me. I went to a Japanese salon in London, and I said, just Yuko straighten it, and it's chemically straightened. So like the majority of my hair is never going to be curly again until my natural hair grows out. So the only way I could do it, like if I wash it now, this will all be straight. And so that's a real shame. So I actually changed the chemical composition.
So, believe it or not, I don't think you should feel too hopeless about it, because I did that too once, and I have very curly hair now. I didn't do the Japanese thing, but I did have my hair chemically smoothened at one point. And so I had this like smooth, like very straight hair, but it didn't make me feel like myself when it grew out. I did not like it when it grew out, because it was curly at the top, and then it wasn't going away. And just I felt so insecure about it, and I regretted it so much, because I was like, why am I trying to do these things that don't come naturally to me, and like, it doesn't
Yeah,
represent what I see myself as.
we were not made this way. We were made a particular way, whether it's our skin color, whether it's our hair, whether it's our height, our body composition, we're made a particular way. And, I'm never going to be a size 0, size 4, and I don't care. I'm a Punjabi woman with big hips, and I love that, and a big chest, and
Yeah.
that's who I am. That's
In Lion's Mane, when I was reading the poem, like I kind of saw that, the insecurity that I used to have, and, not wanting to be messy. And actually, I think it comes from like a lack of, like, you don't have any way to navigate like a curly head of hair, because of like how clouded everything gets with, like, you're supposed to, like, as soon as you're born as a girl, there's a Western level of beauty, and you're never going to be able to meet that, because you're just not born like that. But then I think a lot of Indian girls will die trying, and it's such a it I could see that pain of like trying so hard, but then at one point kind of deciding that I don't want to do this anymore, and like I don't want my daughter to do this anymore. And I think that was very important to me. I felt so happy that your daughter would never have to feel like that. I felt so proud of you as a
no.
mother for, I felt so proud of you as a mother for stopping that cycle and not allowing yourself to put that on her. And I think in that process it makes you love yourself so much more too.
And I think that realization doesn't come until you do become a mother. For a lot of people like me, you just carry on doing things in autopilot until you stop and question, what message do I want to send on to the next generation? What standard of beauty have I been taught? And how do I question the subconscious bias that has been drilled into you as a child? Because we've all been told, don't get too tanned because that's not beautiful, or fair and lovely is the best way. But I think dark and lovely is absolutely fine. It's more than fine. It's beautiful. And I think that I've seen so many women who've got married, a lot of my cousins and aunts, etc., who've been married, and in their makeup vanity kit, when they were sent away to their in-laws' house, they'd have a bottle of Fair and Lovely, and I'd just be like, what is that all about? Like, what are you saying to the person? It just doesn't make any
And
sense to me
also, like,
whatsoever.
something that's supposed to be the most important day of your life,
Yeah.
yeah, that you don't look like yourself on that day. It takes, I think a lot of a lot of our quest for beauty as Indian women is to, I think eventually we don't see ourselves as human anymore. And I think that's so damaging to, like, I think especially as a young girl, it's so damaging, because I think it's like a state of perpetual exhaustion where you don't know when you will be able to see yourself as, like a Priyanka Chopra, or like, somebody that has a team dedicated to making you look like that. And, as a child, you're never going to have that, but you want that so bad. And the last bit of Lion's Mane, where you can see yourself with your daughter, I think that was that I thought this is what this poem's about. It's not really about the hair at all. It's about not, I think it's about, always wanting better for your child, even though you didn't have that. And I think that was the most, like, I think I wanted that to be the, like, the, climax of the, like, the piece, where I
Yeah.
loved how there was an iron in there. When you told me that, like, that you ironed your hair with like a real iron, I knew that you thought that it was such a strange thing to say to me. But when I absolutely came back at you with, like, I've done that too. Like,
Yes.
that's happened to me too. I have put a real, genuine clothing iron to my hair. It just, like, I think it's such a, like,
It's so
bizarre visual
relatable.
for anybody. It's such a
Yeah.
bizarre visual for somebody that somebody that doesn't belong to that world is not going to get it. But I think it shows how violent that quest for beauty can be.
Yeah, I mean,
So yeah,
incredibly
it was a
violent.
big piece.
And I think having a burn mark on my face and going into university and lying about why I had this huge burn mark on my face to my friends was part of it. But I think it's what we do internally to ourselves and how we talk about ourselves and how we sort of criticize ourselves, that voice in your head. I think that was the most damaging, like the stuff that we do to ourselves. And I think that's where I wanted to really stop. So I wanted to highlight that. So that was something really important to me, and you illustrated it so beautifully. I love that there was this big puffy halo of hair.
So, this is going to be such a clinical answer. It's not really a very, emotional, and like, it's not really
That's
like that. It's
fine.
just that in a market where you're selling books, you have to know that there are a lot of poetry books out there. Like, there are so many, and, there's always going to be one book that people will want to buy more than they want to buy your book. And, at the end of the day, we are kind of in a world where people like to see something visual, and they do respond to a lot of that. And, I think more than buying your book, if you want people to understand your story, and if you want them to, beyond just like reading and then putting it away, if you want people to remember, it's always better to have like two ways that they can connect. If you don't have an illustrator, if you record it, and like if you record the book as an audiobook as well, there are just ways that you can actually, like, if they can hear your voice, if they can see that there's illustrations, if they can see that there's color, or just something that to help them
That
remember,
appeals
like,
to all of their senses.
yeah, like when you study, if you just read your textbooks, it wouldn't be so easy to study if there weren't any pictures, or if there weren't any diagrams, or if there weren't any ways that you can make notes. Like if you don't have a teacher, you're not going to just read the book and study. Like I think it's important to have another way that you can drive the point home that doesn't overshadow the book in any way, because that was very important to me when I illustrated your book, was to not have the illustration overpower the poem. Because I did, like, it can tend to happen, and I really wanted it to kind of
Compliments.
play off each other, and like, I wanted them to be like, not even equals, but like, maybe a younger sister to the poem in some ways. And I think it's important to, when you read a poem, like you've read the poem, but then when you see it with something that's, showing you an image of what this felt like, I think that can, make you connect so much more with the work. And I think it's hard. Yeah.
Especially the visuals, because for someone who's South Asian, a lot of the images will make sense because they'll be like, oh yeah, that's Ganesh. I can see a little murti of Ganesh, a little statue. But for someone else, they might not know what that is.
Please buy Honeybee on Amazon, and I think you should show it. Yeah. It's so,
Yeah.
and I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of you for making the cover on your own. I don't want people to think I designed this cover, because I didn't. You did it all by yourself, and it's so beautiful. And I thought, like, Angela, you don't need me to do this, because I think you have it, and it looks really good. And I think I would pick this up.
Yeah, definitely.
Even though you have no idea how, you have no like design experience, but you did this, and it's beautiful.
Anyways, thank you so much, Isha. It's been a wonderful
Thank you
pleasure
so
talking
much,
to you. I
Angela.
could talk to you for absolutely forever. Guys, please follow Isha on Instagram. Check out her Behance page, and her details will be in the description below.